Good evening, winners. Steve here with Success by the Book. Today we start reviewing Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People in a Digital Age. And I read the original book in 1980. It's been a great foundation to my success, and if you follow along, I'm sure it will help you. Carnegie said dealing with people is probably the biggest problem you face. And over the years, I've found this to be true. Both employees and customers can be challenging at times. The strategies outlined in this book will help you cope and manage both. When Dale Carnegie first wrote this book in 1936, most conversations were face-to-face, and sometimes by telephone or letter. Nowadays, with email, Twitter, Facebook, and other social media, it's easy for things to get out of hand. Carnegie starts off by talking about relationships, and you've probably heard the statement, well, they had connections. Well, that's true. When you think about it, everything depends on who you know, and I might add, even getting into heaven. What success does not begin with relationships? Carnegie's principles still apply. Don't condemn or complain. Talk about others' interests, and if you're wrong, admit it. Carnegie says you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years trying to get other people interested in you. So this book will help you master the art of communication. Now, speechwriter James Hume said, the art of communication is the language of leadership. And whether you want a promotion or want to expand your business, the teaching in this book will help. Next, Carnegie discusses nonverbal cues and inflection. And before we get into the meat of this book, let's consider the problem of communication in this digital age. When we rely on tweets, emails, and messaging, we lose the critical aspect of human interaction, such as nonverbal cues and word inflections. Emotion or enthusiasm is hard to convey without nonverbal cues. And although much of business can be conducted digitally, it's the ability of the person-to-person interaction that makes a difference. Emotion and enthusiasm, they just cannot be conveyed by emojis or hearts. And after reading Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, I think you'll be amazed at how remarkable it is that after almost 90 years, how much more relevant Carnegie's words are today. Now let's consider the essentials of engagement. And this is part 1 of the book. Whether it's football, basketball, other games that involve winning, and unfortunately even war, there are essentials of engagement or a strategy that's necessary if you intend to win. It's the same way in achieving success. For example, if you want to expand your business, you'll probably need a business loan. The bank will require a business plan, and there has to be a strategy to achieve the goals that you want to accomplish. And I might add, rarely are you able to accomplish this transaction without personal interaction. And here's where the art of communication becomes imperative. One who makes the best presentation, both verbally and digitally, are the ones who will succeed. And people are influenced by emotion and enthusiasm, and that's impossible to convey without face-to-face communication. If you want to engage with other people, you'll have to bury your boomerangs. A boomerang is a curved, flat piece of wood that can be thrown so it returns to the thrower. Traditionally, it was used by the Australian Aboriginal people as a weapon. Now remember, careless words can also be used as a weapon. And unfortunately, like a boomerang, they can often return with negative consequences. With today's instantaneous social media, one has to be very careful with what is said. In Carnegie's book, he offers several examples, so I won't get into that right now. And here's some key thoughts before communicating. Try to use media as a way to communicate encouragement and exhortation. Resist bad-mouthing as a differentiation strategy. Remove your agenda if at all possible. And finally, calm yourself before communicating. Remember, careless words, when thrown out, can return like a boomerang to haunt you. And it may be time to bury that boomerang. Next, engagement requires affirming what's good. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, "The ancestor of every action is a thought." We all have an innate, unquenchable desire to know that we have value and that we matter. And the best way to be appreciated is to affirm the good in others. Rick Warren said in his book, The Purpose-Driven Life, that when you give someone your time, you're giving them a portion of your life. Your time is your life. And that's why the greatest gift you can give someone is your time. Affirmation requires knowing someone well enough to be aware of what really matters to them. As Emerson also wrote, every man is entitled to be valued for their best moments. And we are all united by one single desire, to be valued by another. We get a better world for ourselves if we invest in a better world for others. And finally, the essentials of engagement requires connecting with core desires. My grandfather was born in a time when automobiles were a new thing. My father was born when airplanes were a new thing, and I was born when everything was a new thing. I saw the advent of color television, the advent of personal calculators, VCRs, fax machine, personal computers, cell phones, and I had the very first tower computer in my city. When we were published in Sign Builder Illustrated, the largest bank in town used to come and use our fax machine. Now we have artificial intelligence technology and social media that gives us access to the entire world. It's now even more important to make the proper connections. And the problem is that quick and instantaneous can also mean mundane and meaningless. Influence requires more intuition than intellect. Sometimes you have to follow your heart. Now, in the next video, we'll look at part 2 of Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age. We'll look at 6 ways to make a lasting impression. Now, before you go, I hope that you'll consider buying my books. They're basically clean fiction. My wife loves reading the Jan Karen Mitford series, and she says that my writing style is similar to Jan's, and that's quite a compliment. Just Google Steve Atkins Amazon, and it will take you to my author page. Now, if you haven't already done so, I hope you'll consider subscribing. Please give this video a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, and as always, make it a successful day.